Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're going to be doing a really interesting deep dive today.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to be looking at Halloween and
Okay.
all the waste that's associated with Halloween.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously it's a huge holiday,
Right.
lots of fun. But with all the costumes and the candy and the decorations,
Yeah.
there's bound to be, a pretty big environmental impact.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to be looking at this article
Okay.
from New York City Ace of Waste
Okay.
called "The Day After Halloween: Managing Waste and Promoting Eco-Friendly Practices."
I like it.
And so let me just introduce you to our expert today.
Hello, everyone.
So yeah, let's just jump right in.
Sure.
Okay, so this article mentions that over 12,500 tons of Halloween costumes are thrown away each year.
Oh, my goodness.
So, I mean, that's like the weight of 250,000 average-sized pumpkins.
That's a lot of pumpkins.
That's a lot of pumpkins.
Yeah.
It's crazy, and that's just costumes.
Right.
So you've also got, decorations and party supplies,
Of course, yeah.
and then all that candy.
Mm-hmm.
And the article points out that Halloween's reliance on all of these single-use items
Right.
makes it a particularly bad, offender
Uh-huh.
when you compare it to some other holidays.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And speaking of candy,
Yes.
the U.S. consumes over 600 million pounds
Oh, my gosh.
of candy on Halloween alone.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
That's almost 2 pounds per person
I know, it's insane.
if you divide it by the population.
Yeah, so that's quite a sugar rush.
Yeah, and a huge amount of waste.
Yeah,
It really makes you think
for sure.
about the health and environmental implications of all that.
Right, so let's talk about those consequences.
Okay.
We know that all this waste ends up in landfills, but what does that actually mean
right.
for the environment?
Well, the overflowing landfills are just the start of it.
Right.
This plastic waste poses a really serious threat to wildlife.
Oh, yeah.
Animals often mistake plastic for food, which can lead to them eating it or getting tangled up in it.
Yeah, it's really sad to think about.
Yeah.
I remember reading also about how plastic breaks down into microplastics.
Yes.
Then they can end up in the water and then in the food that we eat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's a huge problem, and this article really highlights the dangers of that.
Wow.
These microplastics can impact both animals and humans.
Right. And of course, there's the carbon footprint
Yeah.
of producing and transporting and disposing of all this stuff.
It's a really complex issue.
Yeah, it sounds kind of overwhelming, to be honest.
Yeah.
But, this article doesn't just focus on the negative stuff.
Right.
It talks about what we can do
Okay.
to make Halloween a little bit more sustainable.
I like that.
Yeah. So it's not all doom and gloom.
Mm-hmm.
It gives us a lot of hope and practical solutions.
Yeah. So where do we begin?
I know, right?
What can we actually do?
Okay, so one thing that they mentioned is instead of buying, cheap costumes
Yeah.
that are often made from those non-recyclable materials,
Yeah.
why not consider DIY options?
I love that.
Yeah.
Like making our own costumes.
Yeah, you can use things you already have,
Right.
like upcycle some old clothes or use some household items.
Yeah. Or even organize a costume swap
Oh, that's a good idea.
with your friends and family.
I love that.
It's a great way to get a new costume
Totally.
without buying anything new.
Yeah, and it kind of tackles that fast fashion problem
Absolutely.
where we buy things just to wear them once
Yeah.
and then throw them away.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got costumes covered.
Uh-huh.
What about decorations?
Yeah. Are there eco-friendly alternatives
Right, because nobody wants to get rid of decorations.
to those plastic pumpkins and spider webs?
Yeah, so the article suggests using natural materials
Okay.
like pumpkins and hay bales
Oh, yeah.
and gourds and just like colorful fall foliage.
It's more authentic.
It's so much nicer.
Yeah.
It creates such a more festive atmosphere.
Definitely. And it's biodegradable.
Exactly. So you can compost it
All right.
when Halloween is over.
Instead of sending it to the landfill.
And the article even suggests using things like pine cones and acorns
Oh, wow.
for spooky crafts.
I love that.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
Okay, so now
So we've covered costumes and decorations.
I know we got to talk
How
about
about the candy?
the candy,
I know.
the elephant in the room.
The candy monster in the cauldron.
Yes,
Okay, so candy is like a huge part of Halloween.
of course.
But it generates so much waste.
It does.
What do we do?
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Right.
So the article talks about making mindful choices.
Okay.
We don't have to completely get rid of candy,
Thank goodness.
but we can think about it a little differently.
Okay.
So one thing is to look for candy that comes in bulk.
Right.
That'll reduce the individual wrappers.
That's a good idea.
And I've noticed that some companies are starting to use more sustainable packaging,
Yeah.
like compostable wrappers
No.
or recyclable boxes instead of all that plastic.
That's great. Yeah, and then another option is to give out non-candy treats,
Oh, that's fun.
like stickers or temporary tattoos.
The kids love those.
Yeah, or even little pencils.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That's fun and healthy.
So we've talked about the costumes and the decorations and the candy.
It seems like we're on our way to a more sustainable Halloween.
I know, it's exciting.
But what happens after the sugar rush is over
Yeah.
and all the costumes are put away?
What do we do with all that stuff?
We have to think about responsible disposal.
Oh, okay.
Our efforts don't end with just choosing those sustainable options.
Right.
We have to dispose of everything properly, too.
That's true. Okay. So what are some key things to keep in mind?
Well, first of all, make sure you're sorting your recyclables correctly,
Okay.
like those cardboard boxes
Right.
and paper wrappers.
Uh-huh.
Some types of plastic can be recycled, too.
Yeah, it's always a good idea to check with your local guidelines.
Yes, definitely, because the rules can vary.
Yeah, what about the pumpkins?
Pumpkins are perfect for composting.
Oh, yeah.
They break down really well in a compost bin,
Okay.
and then you can use that in your garden.
It's like a full circle.
Exactly.
That's great. And what about the costumes?
The costumes don't belong in the trash,
Right?
especially after all that effort to make them sustainable.
So what do we do with them?
You can donate them.
Oh, okay.
There are lots of places that accept gently used costumes,
Where?
local thrift stores,
Okay.
community centers,
Uh-huh.
schools, shelters, even hospitals.
Wow. So many options.
Give those costumes a second life.
Yeah. Spread the Halloween cheer.
Exactly.
And the article actually talks about some communities
Yes.
that have really embraced this idea of a more sustainable Halloween.
Uh-huh.
And they've actually implemented these things called zero-waste Halloween events.
That's fantastic.
Now, isn't that cool?
Like the whole community's getting involved.
I know, it's amazing. And it shows that it can be done.
It's really inspiring.
I know. So how are they doing this?
Well, one of the key elements is education and awareness.
Okay.
They're getting people involved, especially children,
Okay.
and teaching them about making eco-friendly choices.
Like what?
They're doing workshops on DIY costumes and decorations,
Yeah.
promoting costume swaps,
Uh-huh.
and even setting up these plastic-free trick-or-treating zones.
Oh, wow. I want to hear more about that.
Yeah, it's really making sustainability
So cool.
a fun part of the tradition.
I know. It's amazing. Okay. So we've talked about what individuals can do
Right.
and what communities can do.
Yeah, what about the manufacturers and retailers?
And what about them?
What role did they play in all of this?
Right. Because we can make all the right choices,
Exactly.
but if the options aren't available in the stores,
Right.
it's going to be tough.
It's going to be hard to create a truly sustainable Halloween.
Exactly.
Mm.
So they have a huge responsibility
Yeah.
to make these products more readily available.
Absolutely, and more appealing.
Right.
We need to see more eco-friendly costumes
Uh,
and decorations in stores.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't be hidden away in a corner.
Right. Front and center.
Yes, make them easy to find.
Yeah. I have seen some companies offering costumes made from organic cotton
Okay,
and recycled polyester.
that's great.
So that's a good sign.
Yeah, that's definitely a step in the right direction.
It feels like things are starting to change.
It does.
People are becoming more aware
Yeah,
of the environmental impact of everything.
absolutely.
And Halloween is no exception.
It's great to see that awareness growing.
Yeah. But we still have a long way to go.
We do.
And it's going to take all of us working together.
It's a collective effort.
Yeah. So as we head into Halloween,
Yes.
what are some of the key takeaways from this deep dive
Okay.
that we can apply to our own celebration?
All right, let's think about that.
What can we do?
What can we do to make a difference? Well, I think one of the big things is that we don't have to give up all the fun
Right.
and creativity of Halloween to be more sustainable.
Yeah.
We can make small changes that will have a big impact.
Yeah, this article talks about these communities that have really transformed their Halloween celebrations
Yeah.
to be more eco-friendly.
Uh-huh. These zero-waste Halloween events.
Yeah. It's so cool.
They're really inspiring.
So what does one of those look like?
Well, they've got some really creative ideas.
Okay.
Like they do these costume swaps
Oh, yeah, I love those.
where people exchange their costumes
Yeah.
instead of buying new ones.
You get like a new TU costume.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
And it reduces waste.
Like a big Halloween party.
Yeah, and it builds community.
What about the decorations?
Okay, so for decorations,
Are they still using those plastic pumpkins and spider webs?
no, they're not using those.
Okay, good.
They're using natural decorations.
Okay.
Like pumpkins and hay bales and gourds.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
Those are so much better.
And those colorful fall leaves.
It creates such a better atmosphere.
It really does. It feels more authentic.
And then you can compost it all.
Exactly.
After Halloween, then when the festivities are over,
Perfect.
it all goes back to the earth.
Okay, so what about the candy?
So some of these events have these plastic-free trick-or-treating zones.
What?
Yeah.
Plastic-free? How does that work?
So instead of giving out candy
Yeah.
in those little plastic wrappers,
Huh?
they're encouraging people to give out treats with no packaging.
So what kind of treats are they giving out?
Well, some people bake homemade treats,
Okay.
and they package them in reusable containers.
That's a good idea.
Or they give out stickers, or temporary tattoos,
Oh, that's fun.
or even little toys.
Yeah, kids love that stuff.
So it's still a treat.
It's like a little treasure hunt.
Yeah.
I love that.
So it's all about being more thoughtful
Yeah.
and shifting away from those mass-produced candies.
It's so cool that these communities are doing this.
It's really inspiring.
It shows that we can make a change.
Yeah. And the article also talks about the role of manufacturers and retailers.
Yeah, because they have to be on board too. It's SAC.
It can't just be us as individuals.
Right.
We need the options in the stores.
We need to see more sustainable products in stores.
I've seen some costumes made from recycled materials.
Okay, good.
And some candy companies are using less packaging.
That's great.
So it seems like it's starting to happen.
Yeah, some companies are listening.
But we have to be careful
Yes,
because not all eco-friendly claims are actually true.
exactly. So you have to do your research.
Yeah, what should we be looking for?
Look for certifications
Okay.
from reputable organizations.
Yeah, verify those claims.
Right.
Okay.
And support the companies that are making a real effort.
Yeah,
Choose those eco-friendly options.
even if they cost a little bit more
Exactly.
because it's worth it.
Yeah, you're voting with your wallet.
And we also have to remember that sustainable choices aren't always easy
Right.
for everyone.
It can be expensive.
And that's where we need some policy changes.
Yes.
And some corporate responsibility.
To make these choices accessible to everyone.
So it's not just on us as individuals.
It's a systemic issue.
Right.
It has to be addressed on multiple levels.
So the article ends with a really interesting point.
Okay.
It talks about how Halloween can be a catalyst
Oh, wow.
for change
Interesting.
because it's all about creativity and imagination.
Right.
So we can apply that
To finding
to
solutions.
these environmental challenges.
I love that.
Yeah. So it's not about giving up Halloween.
It's about reimagining it
Yeah, exactly.
and making it more sustainable.
Okay, so we've covered a lot.
We have.
We've talked about the environmental impact of Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
We've discussed those zero-waste celebrations.
Yes.
And we've talked about the role of consumers and corporations.
So what's the most important takeaway for you?
I think the main thing is that we don't have to choose
Right.
between Halloween and the planet.
We can have both.
We can have it all.
We can be mindful and creative
Yeah.
and make choices that align with our values.
So as we get ready for Halloween, what's one small step our listeners can take?
To make their celebrations a bit greener.
I think it could be as simple as just taking a look at what you're already doing
Okay.
for Halloween
Uh-huh.
and seeing where you can maybe make one small change.
Yeah.
Like maybe instead of buying a new costume this year,
Right?
you could try a DIY costume,
That's a great idea.
or maybe you could use some natural decorations instead of plastic.
Yeah.
Just one little thing.
I think that's a great starting point.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be all on you.
Right.
This article talks about how important it is to get the community involved.
Yes.
Like those zero-waste Halloween events.
Those are amazing.
They're so inspiring.
Yeah, a whole community working together.
It just shows you that change is possible,
It really does.
especially when we work together.
And it can inspire others to do the same.
Right. It's like a ripple effect.
Exactly.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Okay.
what's one thing you want our listeners to remember?
Well, I think the key takeaway is that we don't have to choose between Halloween
Right.
and protecting the planet.
I love that.
We can have both.
Yeah, we can celebrate and be sustainable.
We can be mindful
Uh-huh.
and we can be creative.
And we can find solutions that match our values.
Exactly.
So it's not about feeling bad.
Yeah.
It's about finding new ways to celebrate
Yeah.
that are fun and responsible.
And I think that idea goes beyond just Halloween.
Right. It applies to everything.
Yeah.
Our choices have an impact.
Every single day.
Yeah. So whether you're using a reusable bag at the store
Uh-huh.
or reducing your energy consumption
Right.
or choosing sustainable products,
It all adds up.
it all makes a difference.
It does.
So Halloween, with all its imagination and transformation,
Yeah.
it can really remind us that change is possible.
It's a symbol of change.
Yeah, like we can all be superheroes
I like that.
and use our powers for good.
So as we head into this Halloween season, think about what you learned from this deep dive
Yeah.
and what one small change you can make.
Maybe try a DIY costume.
Or use natural decorations.
Or choose candy with less packaging.
Just one small thing.
It all adds up.
It does.
So let's make this Halloween a little bit greener
Okay.
and a lot more fun.
Thanks for joining us.
And if you have any eco-friendly Halloween tips,
Yeah.
we'd love to hear them.
Share them with us.
You can connect with us on social media
And let's inspire each other.
to create a more sustainable future.
One spooky step at a time.
Happy Halloween, everyone!